Hey guys, I am going to read Bloodbound by you/John Wasnever. October Monday. Remember the cheese touch fiasco from last year? Well, it's back, but not in the way you'd expect. Over the weekend, Jake McGuff went to the blacktop here at school and took a fat dump. For some reason, the staff of the school won't clean it up. Yes, by the way, Jake was bragging about it all day. I can't tell you why he was so proud of it. Just like the cheese touch, everyone is trying to avoid it. Trust me though, it ain't going away anytime soon. Some boys noticed the turd was getting crusty, so they started peeing on it to keep it moisturized. Now it's like 2 times the size because it soaked up the urine like a sponge. I can't be making this up. You don't have to worry though, I'm not gonna draw it. Hopefully. Tuesday. I'm a little terrified right now. I wish you still had your iron abs. Yeah, I should get new ones, am I right? Mom and Dad are definitely robots. How come I didn't notice this entire time? I have to put this to the test. Later today I found my old baseball, so I found Dad and I threw it at him. If he's a robot, then he'd immediately catch the ball because robots can process things at the speed of light. You son of a now, Frank. Maybe you just don't have your nerves of steel like you used to. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie. But now I realize I was still right. My dad is a robot. But I still have to test Mom. So I went up to her and asked if she knew what my birthday was. I don't actually know. I wanted to wait till you were older to tell you this, but you're adopted, Greg. Oh my God, I knew it. She is a robot. Mom and Dad can't have kids because they're both robots. I can't believe this has blown over my head this entire time. Does this mean Roderick and Manny both are adopted as well, or could they also be robots? I guess I'm gonna have to keep an eye on them both then, because the robot takeover can be any day now. Wednesday the school's having this contest called the Bowlin Brigade, The basics of it is that we all let a balloon loose with a note attached to it with our name and address. So if someone finds it, they have to send them back. So whosoever balloon went the farthest, the winner gets this giant jar of candy corn. Now let me tell you, I'd do about anything to get my greedy little hands on that jar of candy corn. Ever since Roderick grew this addiction to shove candy corn up his nose, we never had candy corn in our house ever again. 4 years even. So I need to win this contest. Thursday we started the contest around 3 weeks ago, and I got a letter today from someone who found my balloon. Usually, people find other people's balloons in like 2 days. So this must mean mine went far. The kid who found my balloon was this kid named Maddox Selsom. My balloon popped in the woods where his house was. I decided to go over to his house and meet this kid, but I didn't want Mom or Dad taking me. You know, because they're robots. Anyway, I asked Roderick if he wanted to go. I explained the whole candy corn jar thing, and he immediately said yes. So me and Roderick went down into the woods where we were greeted by him and Maddox's mom, who invited us in for cookies. I'm usually not one to judge, since I'm such a good guy, but this Maddox kid was weird. Not fraggly weird, but a whole new weird all on his own. While Mrs. Selsom was talking to Roderick, me and Maddox were making no conversation at all. He just kept staring at me that gave me chills down my spine. Also, for some reason he kept giving me a kissy face look. When I tuned back into what Mrs. Selsom and Roderick were talking about, Mrs. Selsom was talking about this thing called the pork gospel. That's when Maddox broke him and our silence and asked if I wanted a tour of his house. I didn't really care about what Roderick and Mrs. Selsom were talking about, so I agreed. When he showed me his room, I was flabbergasted. There was nothing in his pale white room other than a white sheet on the floor in the middle of the room. I asked him where his bed was, and he said the pig gospel does not allow beds or any sort of entertainment. He said those words exactly, by the way, as if he was reciting it from a book or something. I asked him if there was at least one thing he does for fun, and he said yes. But then he looked back in the dining room to see if Roderick and Mrs. Maddox was still talking, and then told me to follow him. Then we journeyed down to his basement. Anyway, I was so confused with what I was looking at. It was this tiny pig lying on this little table. There were also gummy worms stuffed into its mouth. It was squirming around and it looked like it was in pain. Then Maddox pointed at the pig and said that was a sacrifice. That's when I realized, Maddox and his mom were part of a cult. I don't know what came over me, but I had a gut feeling that I had to save that pig. So that's exactly what I did. I grabbed the pig and started running. When I got upstairs, I told Roderick to run. He was confused, but still did anyway. After we got into the van, Roderick stepped on the gas and we got the heck out of there. I then told Roderick what I saw and stuff and how I figured out the place was a cult. Roderick said he figured as much because of what Miss Selsom was talking about. That's when out of nowhere, the pigs start to speak this weird random gibberish. Jigbagwiploplagma. Almost right after the pig said that, I had this weird feeling in my throat, and I began to barf. I just assumed that it was the words that the pig said that made me barf. Could the pig have some sort of supernatural power? I decided that I didn't want to deal with this pig any longer. It was obviously a bad idea to save it. So I opened the doors and threw it out. Friday. Okay, so remember those teenagers like a year ago who forced Rolly to eat the cheese? Well, they're back. Me and Rolly were outside on that blacktop minding our own business until those teens pulled up in their truck and grabbed me and Rolly. I was already getting flashbacks. That's when I realized they were gonna make us do something gross again. And lo and behold, that's when they saw the turd. But you probably would have guessed, but yes. I actually drew the turd. Warning, don't eat while you see the next page. It was a really bright green, probably from all the urine soaked up in it. Not to mention it was still wet and moist, fresh and runny. It had bits of corn in it. I think there was even blood tinted in it. Also, it smells like the worst thing you can imagine. That's when I remembered what the pig did, so I repeated what the pig said. Jigbagwiploplagma. Guess what, it worked. He actually pucked, but sadly that didn't stop him. He made me eat the turd. Wanna know what the worst part is? The entire school saw it. No one is going to forget this, even I probably won't forget this Saturday. Well, that's it. That's what stopped my social life to a screeching halt. Kids don't even look at me anymore. I mean, Rolly still hangs out with me, but he gets PTSD every time he hangs out with me. Well, that's it. There's no reason in writing in this anymore since I'm never becoming famous anymore. The end.